What if I told you your anxiety isn't caused by the things happening in your life, but by your refusal to let go of what you can't control? You think you're stressed because of your job, or your relationship, or your finances. But the truth is far more brutal. You're stressed because you're gripping life by the throat, trying to force outcomes, avoid pain, and chase perfection in a world built on chaos. Let that sink in. Your mind races at night, not because life is out of control, but because you keep trying to control what was never yours to hold. That's the real problem. And that's exactly what this book will teach you to fix. You're tired of the constant overthinking, of being at war with yourself, of pretending everything's fine when your chest feels like it's caving in. Deep down, you know something has to change, not on the outside, but inside you. This isn't a book about coping. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of worry, fear, and control for good. Chapter 1. The Myth of Control and Why It's Killing You. You're not burned out because you're doing too much. You're burned out because you're holding on too tight to things you were never meant to control. The biggest lie modern life sold you is that you're supposed to have everything under control: your future, your image, your results, other people's opinions. But control is an illusion, and chasing it is the fastest way to anxiety, burnout, and misery. The people who are most at peace aren't the ones who control the most. They're the ones who've learned how to let go the most. On 2010, a team of psychologists from Harvard used an app to track over 15,000 people's thoughts. The shocking result: we spend 47% of our waking lives not paying attention to the present moment. Most of that time is spent worrying about the past or future things we can't control. The happiest people weren't the richest or the most productive. They were simply the ones who stopped trying to control what they couldn't reach. Why do we obsess over control? Because the brain is wired for certainty. It craves it, and when it doesn't get it, it panics. But here's the twist. The more control you chase, the more anxious you become, because life doesn't obey you. And deep down, you know it. So you overthink, micromanage, predict, panic. But what if the answer wasn't in doing more, but in letting go? How to let go of control. Here are 3 ways to start releasing the illusion of control today. 1. The control. Audit 5 minutes daily, each night. List everything that's bothering you. Then draw a line through everything you cannot control. What's left? That's where your power is. The rest, let it go. 2. The let it burn practice. Choose one small thing each day to let go of on purpose. A plan, a conversation, a result. Say this out loud: I am not in control and I don't need to be. Let it burn and watch how light you feel. Point 3. Swap what if with even if. Stop asking, what if I fail? Start saying, even if I fail, I'll be okay. This rewires your brain from fear to resilience. In the next chapter, you'll learn the single hidden habit that turns everyday people into chronic overthinkers and how to break it in 60 seconds. Chapter 2. The addiction to overthinking and how to break it in 60 seconds. If worry was a product, it would be the best-selling drug on earth. You don't mean to overthink. You just do. You replay the past. You predict the worst. You imagine conversations that never happened, outcomes that never will. It feels involuntary, like a reflex. And in a way, it is. Overthinking isn't a personality trait. It's a psychological addiction. Here's the hard truth: overthinking gives you the illusion of control, while quietly robbing you of peace, power, and presence. Why your brain loves the loop. Your brain's number one job is survival, not happiness, so it constantly scans for problems, threats, loose ends. It doesn't care if you feel commit, only cares that you feel prepared. That's why your mind replays old arguments, why it catastrophizes about tomorrow. It's trying to predict pain, though. You don't get blindsided. Here's the glitch in the system. Your brain treats thinking about danger, the same as actually experiencing it, which means the more you overthink, the more anxious you feel. The more anxious you feel, the more you overthink. It's a self-feeding loop, and most people never escape it. But you can. The pattern that traps you. Overthinking usually follows the same script. Trigger. Something happens or might happen. Loop. You start mentally spinning. What? If this goes wrong? False relief. You try to solve it in your head. Addiction. The solving becomes the new source of anxiety. Your brain becomes addicted to thinking about problems because it confuses that with solving them. But you're not solving anything. You're just marinating in fear. Here's the fix. The 60-second pattern. Interrupt. The stop-shift-tanker method. O's how you snap out of overthinking on command. It only takes 1 minute. But the effects are life-changing. Step 1. Stop, catch yourself mid-thought spiral. Say, out loud or internally, I'm not doing this right now. Aim it to tame it. That's the first break in the loop. Step 2. Shift. Shift your focus to the present moment. Engage one of your senses: sight, smell, sound, touch, or taste. Examples: feel the texture of your chair. Count 5 colors in the room. Smell something grounding, like citrus or mint. This forces your brain out of the abstract and into reality. Step 3. Anchor. Ask yourself, what's the next best action I can take right now? Not the perfect action, not the final answer, just the next best move. That anchor grounds you in what you can control and pulls you out of the mental fog. Real-world example. Let's say you're waiting to hear back from someone important. They're late to reply. You feel your mind spiral? Did I say something wrong? Are they mad? What if this ruins the deal? That's your signal. Stop, breathe, shift your focus. Count 5 blue objects in the room. Anchor. What can I do right now that moves me forward? Maybe it's sending a follow-up. Maybe it's working on the next task. Maybe it's letting it go for now. The point is, you just broke the loop, and that's where freedom starts. Why this works. Overthinking thrives on 2 things. Ambiguity. In action. This method destroys both. By disrupting the thought loop, reconnecting to the present and triggering real-world action, you reclaim control of your mind. It sounds simple, but practice it 5 times a day for 1 weekend. You'll feel like a new person. Power. Practice. Mental cleanse challenge for the next 7 days. Every time you catch yourself overthinking, run the stop-shift-tanker loop. Keep a tally on your phone or a notepad. Set a daily goal. Break the loop at least 5 times a day. At first, it'll feel mechanical, but soon it becomes automatic. And when your default is peace, not panic, everything in your life changes. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden emotional debt most people carry for years, how guilt, shame, and regret keep you stuck in worry, and how to finally let it go. Chapter 3. Emotional debt. The hidden weight you've been carrying. It's not the future that's making you anxious. It's the past that never let go of you. You think you're overwhelmed because of everything you have to do. But that's not it. You're overwhelmed because of everything you haven't processed, unfinished. Pain, unspoken guilt, unforgiven mistakes. You carry it with you everywhere like a backpack. It's full of bricks, and it's slowly suffocating you. Most people live with a kind of invisible burden, a sense of internal tension they can't explain. They call it stress or burnout or being tired all the time. But it's not just tiredness, it's emotional debt, and it's costing you your peace. What is emotional debt? Think of your emotions like energy. When you feel something painful, fear, grief, guilt, anger, it has to go somewhere. But most of us never learned how to release those feelings. So what do we do instead? We suppress, we distract, we numb, we avoid, and every time we do, it's like swiping a credit card. We don't pay for it now, but the debt accumulates. Eventually, it shows up as chronic anxiety, explosive reactions to small things, emotional numbness, self-sabotage, constant fatigue, even after rest. That's not random. That's residue. The longer you carry unresolved emotion, the heavier life feels. Why we never let go? Letting go sounds easy, but it's terrifying because it means facing what we've been running from. Pain, loss, guilt, regret. We think if we open that door, it'll swallow us whole. So we keep the door shut and the pressure builds. But here's the paradox. You're not anxious because you feel too much. You're anxious because you've blocked too much for too long. Emotion is meant to move. That's why it's called emotion. The moment you give yourself permission to feel what you've been avoiding, you stop being a prisoner to it. The emotional audit. Set yourself free. Here's how to begin clearing your emotional debt. Step 1. Name the weight. Ask yourself, what am I still holding on to that no longer serves me? Think back. What regret, guilt, or pain still lingers? Write it down. Be brutally honest. Step 2. Feel it to free it. Pick one item from your list. Close your eyes. Revisit the moment. Let yourself feel it without numbing, judging, or fixing. Then ask, what did I need back then that I didn't get? Was it love? Forgiveness? Understanding? Safety? Step 3. Release with intention. Now say this out loud or write it. I forgive myself for not knowing better at the time. I release this memory with compassion and gratitude. I choose to stop carrying what no longer belongs to me. I'll repeat. This process once a day for 7 days. You'll be shocked by how much lighter you feel. Story you'll never forget. There's a true story about a woman named Andrea who carried guilt for 17 years after her sister died in a car accident. Andrea was the one driving. She replayed that night every day, punished. Herself withdrew from life. When asked what she would say to her sister if she could speak to her one last time, she whispered, "I'm so sorry, and I miss you." She broke down in tears. But something shifted. She realized she'd never said those words, not once. She'd spent 17 years carrying unspoken grief. That night, she wrote her sister a letter, burned it. And for the first time in nearly 2 decades, she felt peace. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's remembering with love without needing to suffer. Action. Steps. Clean the slate. Do an emotional audit. Make a list of every painful comment, memory, guilt, or resentment still weighing on you. Pick one per day. Process it. Write about it. Forgive yourself. Forgive them. Create a let-go ritual. Burn the paper. Shred it. Release it physically to release it emotionally. This isn't woo. It's neuroscience. The act of externalizing pain is what gives your brain permission to let it go. You've been living like someone who owes a debt they can never pay. But the truth is, you've already paid enough. Now it's time to collect your freedom. In the next chapter, you'll discover why your identity is secretly tied to your suffering and how to untangle yourself from it before it destroys your future. Chapter 4. When suffering becomes your identity. Some people don't want to heal, not because they enjoy the pain, but because they don't know who they'd be without it. This is the hidden cost of chronic worry, anxiety, and emotional baggage. Eventually, it stops feeling like a problem and starts feeling like you. I'm just a worrier. I've always been anxious. That's just how I am. No, it's not who you are. It's what you learn to become. And the moment you realize that, your entire life changes. Why pain becomes part of your personality. Here's what no one tells you. The brain craves familiarity if it's harmful. So if you've lived for years in a state of fear, guilt, or sadness, it becomes comfortable, predictable, safe. That's why people stay in toxic relationships, why they replay the same mental loops, why they keep finding new things to worry about. Because on a subconscious level, it's easier to stay in a familiar identity than to step into the unknown of who you could become. Your pain becomes a story. Your story becomes your identity, and your identity becomes your prison. But here's the truth. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your patterns. You're just someone who's forgotten how powerful you really are. The hidden payoff of suffering, this will sting, but it's important. Sometimes we cling to pain because it gives us something: attention, validation, an excuse, a sense of control. It becomes a shield. If I'm anxious, I don't have to take that risk. If I'm overwhelmed, I don't have to try. If I'm the victim, I don't have to change. That's not weakness. It's a coping mechanism. But it's keeping you stuck. So here's a question that breaks the spell. What am I getting out of holding on to this identity? Be brutally honest. No shame, no judgment, just awareness. Because awareness is the first step to freedom. Rewrite the script. If you want to stop being the person who worries, doubts, and spirals, you have to stop telling yourself you are that person. Start small. Replace your self-talk instead of, I'm always anxious. Try, I'm learning to feel safe without needing control. Instead of, I can't stop overthinking. Try, I'm practicing presence. It's okay to be uncomfortable. This isn't toxic positivity. It's cognitive rewiring. Your brain listens to your words, especially the ones you repeat the most. Talk like the person you want to become. Act like the person who's already free, and your identity will catch up. A story you'll see yourself in. There was a man who spent 10 years recovering from heartbreak. He talked about it constantly. He built his identity around it. One day, someone asked him, "Who would you be if you stopped telling that story?" He went silent, then whispered, "I don't know." That's when he realized the truth. He wasn't in pain anymore. He was addicted to the idea of being broken. That day, he wrote a new story. It didn't erase the pain, but it reclaimed the power. You can do the same. Identity shift exercise. Write down your current labels. What do you tell yourself over and over? For example, I'm bad with stress. I'm not good enough. I always mess things up. Ask, Who gave you these labels? Was it a parent? A failure? A trauma? A moment of shame? Choose new words. Rewrite those labels as empowering identities. For example, I'm learning how to lead under pressure. I'm building confidence every day. Live the news story. Every time you feel the old identity creep back in, pause and say, "That's the old version of me. I don't live there anymore." You're not stuck because of your circumstances. You're stuck because of your self-concept. Change the story, and you change your future. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the greatest lie anxiety ever told. Why your need for control is actually keeping you afraid, and how to finally feel safe without micromanaging your life. Chapter 5. Control is the illusion that's making you anxious. Let's get brutally honest. Most of your anxiety comes from trying to control things that were never yours to manage. You think that if you just plan enough, predict enough, prepare enough, you'll finally feel safe. But here's the paradox. The more control you try to have, the less peace you actually feel. Because control isn't safety, it's stress. And the people who are most anxious, they're not careless. They're the ones trying hardest to hold everything together. Why? We crave control. Control is a survival instinct. Your brain doesn't like the unknown. It sees unpredictability as a threat, so it tries to solve uncertainty by overthinking, over-preparing, over-planning. It's not because you're crazy, it's because your brain is trying to protect you. But here's the problem. Life doesn't care about your plans. It will interrupt you, disrupt, blindside you. Trying to control the uncontrollable is like trying to stop the ocean with your hands. It doesn't give you power. It drowns you in panic. The illusion of control. Let's be real. You can't control what other people think, how people treat you, what happens tomorrow, how the world changes, whether things go according to plan. But you can control how you show up, what you focus on, how you respond, what you let go of, what story you tell yourself. And that shift from external control to internal command. Everything. That's the difference between a person who constantly worries and a person who moves through life with calm confidence. The real enemy, micromanaging reality. Control. Freaks don't want to dominate. They want to feel safe. But micromanaging everything only leads to burnout, broken relationships, and emotional exhaustion. You try to control your partner's behavior, your child's future, your career's timeline, even your own emotions. But here's the raw truth. Control doesn't create safety. It destroys trust, especially the trust you have in yourself. Because deep down, control says, I don't trust life to take care of me. I don't trust others to show up. I don't trust myself to handle it if things go wrong. When you don't trust, you live in fear even when nothing's wrong. Freedom through surrender. Surrender isn't giving up. It's giving in to the flow of life. It's saying, I'll do what I can and trust the rest to unfold. This doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. Because when you stop trying to control everything, you finally have the energy to create something beautiful. Surrender doesn't mean passive. It means peaceful. You still take action, but you release the obsession with the outcome. You still make plans, but you stop panicking when things shift. You trust that life is unfolding for you, not against you. And when you can live that way, anxiety loses its grip. A real-life lesson from a burned-out perfectionist. A high-achieving lawyer once came to a mindfulness retreat. Desperate for help, she said, "I can't stop overthinking. My brain never shuts up. I can't relax unless I'm in control." The facilitator gave her a rock. "Drop this rock when you're ready to stop carrying what's not yours." She carried it all day, ate lunch with it, held it during yoga, even slept with it next to her bed. On the last day, she stood in front of the group and dropped the rock and started sobbing. She said, "I realized the rock was never mine to carry. I just didn't know how to put it down." That's what control is, a rock you've convinced yourself you need. But the moment you drop it, you remember what it feels like to breathe. Action steps. Break the control pattern. List what you're trying to control. What are you micromanaging right now? Be honest, people. Outcomes, emotions, the future. Separate the two circles. Draw a line. One column is what I can control. The other, what I can't. This alone is clarity. Daily surrender practice. Each morning, say out loud, "I do what I can. I trust what I can't." Breathe deeply. Imagine handing the rest over to something bigger than you. Drop one rock each day. Pick one thing you've been clenching tightly and let it go. Cancel a plan. Stop checking your inbox. Okay, trust someone else to handle it. It will feel scary. That means it's working. You don't need more control. You need more trust, because peace doesn't come from holding tighter. It comes from learning to let go. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the most addictive habit anxiety creates: overthinking, and why your brain gets stuck in loops that never solve anything, and how to break free before it burns you out. Chapter 6. The loop that never solves anything. You're lying in bed, exhausted, but your brain has other plans. What if I mess that up? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? What if I never figure this out? So you start thinking, then rethinking, then rethinking the rethinking, until your mind becomes a hamster wheel of worst case scenarios and mental simulations. You're not solving anything. You're just spiraling. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's fear in disguise. And unless you break the cycle, it will break you. Why overthinking feels productive but isn't. Here's the trap. Overthinking feels like problem solving. Your brain is trying to find the answer, so it keeps spinning, just in case you missed something. It's like refreshing your email every 5 seconds when you're waiting for good news. You know, it won't help, but it gives you a sense of control. Overthinking is a coping mechanism, but instead of bringing clarity, it drowns it. It creates confusion, stress, and paralysis. The more you think, the more you doubt. The more you doubt, the more anxious you feel. And the more anxious you feel, the more you try to think your way to peace. It's a trap with no exit, lest you choose to break it. The hidden cost of overthinking, Gertink, isn't just annoying. It's expensive. It steals your time, your focus, your sleep, your confidence, your joy, your ability to act. It's the reason you delay big decisions. It's why you second-guess everything you say. It's why you feel drained even when nothing happened. Overthinking is emotional self-harm disguised as preparation. The truth about mental clarity. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from thinking less. Some of the best decisions you'll ever make won't come from obsessing over every option. They'll come from a quiet place inside you that already knows the answer, but you can't hear that voice when your mind is screaming. You don't need more data. You need more space. How to break the spiral. Let's make this practical. Here are 5 science-backed strategies to stop overthinking in the moment. 1. Name the loop. The moment you catch yourself spiraling, say, "This is a loop, not a solution." Labeling it pulls you out of the automatic cycle. It gives you a chance to interrupt it, before it takes over too. Use the 4-7-8. Breath. This is a nervous system reset that works in under a minute. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds. Repeat 3 times. This calms the amygdala, your fear center, and signals safety to your brain. Thinking can't save you in a spiral, but your body can. 3. Switch to pen and paper. Your brain is a terrible storage unit. It keeps everything spinning, but when you write things down, it forces clarity. Try this. Write out what you're overthinking. Identify what's fact versus fear. Ask, what's one next step I can take? Even if it's tiny, action ends the loop. Point 4. Set a worry timer. This sounds weird, but it works. Give yourself a 15-minute window each day to worry. Journal, rant, spiral, go for it. But when the timer's up, you're done. This teaches your brain, worry is not my default, it's a scheduled task. And eventually, it loses power over you. 5. Say this sentence. This one's powerful. Repeat out loud. I don't need to figure it all out right now. Let those words hit. Because 90% of your overthinking comes from trying to solve the future before it happens. But the future is not a problem to solve. It's a place you're headed one step at a time. And when you stop trying to predict everything, you finally have the energy to create something. A story of freedom. A man once spent 2 years agonizing over a career change, made spreadsheets, took personality tests, analyzed every possible scenario, still stuck. One day, his mentor asked, "What would you do if you trusted yourself?" Without thinking, he said, "I'd start the business." That day, he took one small step, not because the fear disappeared, but because he stopped letting the need for certainty control him. One decision that changes everything. The fastest way to escape the overthinking trap. Make decisions faster, not recklessly. Intuitively, because every time you decide, you reclaim your power, even if it's imperfect, even if it's scary. Indecision is where anxiety lives. Action is where it dies. Your anti-spiral protocol, use this next time you feel yourself spinning. Use this flow. Name the loop. I'm not solving, I'm spiraling. Breathe for 7-8. Reset your nervous system. Write it down. Externalize the chaos. Ask this. What's one step I can take now? Say it out loud. I don't need to figure it all out today. Take the step. Small. Action greater than endless thought. Repeat this. Every time, it will rewire your brain. Overthinking is just fear pretending to be responsible. Let it go. And choose clarity over control. In the next chapter, we'll expose the silent killer of peace. Emotional reactivity, how your triggers are controlling you. And how to finally stop letting other people's behavior dictate your inner world. Chapter 7. Your triggers are not the truth. Ever lost your cool over something small? A tone, a text, a sideways glance. And suddenly you're spiraling, snapping, shutting down, or all three. It feels instant, automatic, justified. But here's the truth. You weren't reacting to what happened. You were reacting to what it triggered in you. That pain. It was already there. The moment just exposed it. And until you understand that, you'll keep blaming the outside world for what's broken inside. What a trigger really is. A trigger is not the cause of your pain. It's the messenger. It shows you where you still carry wounds. Someone ignores your message, gives you feel invisible. Someone disagrees with you, gives you feel rejected. Someone sets a boundary, gives you feel abandoned. The situation didn't create the feeling. It activated an old one, which means your triggers aren't problems. They're portals to healing, but only if you stop reacting, okay, and start listening. The cycle of emotional reactivity. Here's what the reactive loop looks like. Something happens, you feel a flash of emotion, hurt, anger, panic. You react, automatically defend, lash out, withdraw. You regret it but feel justified. Nothing changes. This cycle destroys relationships, self-respect, and inner peace. But here's the good news. The moment between trigger and reaction is where your power lives. If you can stretch that space, even by 2 seconds, you reclaim control. Why reactivity feels so real? When you're triggered, your brain goes into survival mode. Your amygdala takes over. Logic shuts down. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels personal. But it's not personal, it's programmed. You're not broken. You're conditioned. Your nervous system is responding to old pain, not present danger. And when you realize that, you stop taking everything so damn personally. How to stop taking everything personally? Let's break it down. 1. Recognize the story. When something upsets you, pause and ask, what story am I telling myself about this? That they don't care? That you're not enough? That you're being left behind? That story is what's hurting you, not the event. Point 2. Feel it without fueling it. Feelings are messengers, not enemies. Let them pass through you, not define you. Try this. Say, this is a wave. It's not forever. And breathe. Let the emotion move without attaching to it. 3. Ask, what is this really about? Behind every trigger is a deeper wound. Rejection gives I feel unworthy. Criticism gives I feel like a failure. Control gives I feel unsafe. Naming the real fear disarms its power. You're not crazy. You're hurt. And that's okay. How emotionally free people respond differently. Emotionally reactive people say, I can't believe they said that to me. Why do people always treat me this way? I need to make them understand. Emotionally free people say, interesting. That touched something old. This isn't about me. It's about them. I don't have to engage with this. They don't avoid feelings. They just refuse to be run by them. They choose response over reaction, clarity over chaos, peace over proving a point. And you can too. A moment that changed everything. A man once said to his therapist, my wife triggers me. She makes me feel small. The therapist replied, she can't make you feel small, but she can remind you that you already believe you are. That hit like a truck, because it's not about what others do. It's about what you believe. When they do it, change the belief and the trigger loses its power. Train yourself out of reactivity. Here's your framework. The 4 are trigger breaker. Recognize. I'm triggered. Label it. Own it. Resist the reaction. Breathe. Do nothing for 10 seconds. Reflect. What am I believing right now? Reframe. What else could be true? Or what would my highest self do? Practice this over and over. Every time you pause instead of react, you rewire your nervous system. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally mature. You are not your trigger sigh. Triggers are echoes. They are not facts. They are not truths. They are not who you are. You are not the story your pain keeps telling. You are the awareness behind it, the observer, the healer, the one who chooses what happens next, and that choice is your freedom in the next chapter. We'll dive into the quiet killer of peace, self-judgment. You'll discover how your inner critic is hijacking your confidence, how to silence it once and for all. Chapter 8. The Voice That Was Never Yours. You wake up and it's already there. You should have done more yesterday. You're falling behind. Why can't you just get it together? It doesn't scream. It whispers, but the damage. Is real. That voice in your head? The one that criticizes, doubts, and shames you constantly. It wasn't born with you. It was installed. And until you learn to separate yourself from it, it will run your life. Where the inner critic comes from? No. One is born hating themselves. Kids don't lie awake at night wondering if they're enough. They run. They laugh. They cry. They play. They exist. Then something changes. A parent says, "Why can't you be more like your brother?" A teacher says, "You'll never make it if you keep being this lazy." A friend laughs when you open up, and so you adapt. You become more pleasing, more quiet, more perfect. It's more hidden. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired for survival. That voice. It was your defense mechanism, but now it's become your prison. What the inner critic really wants. Here's the twist. Your inner critic isn't evil. It's scared. It believes that if it can shame you enough, you'll finally become safe, acceptable, worthy. Its job is control, but its method is destruction. It says things like, "You're not ready," gives to protect you from failure. "You're not good enough," gives to push you to try harder. "You're too much," gives to make you fit in. It's trying to help you, but it's hurting you instead. Because shame doesn't create growth, it creates paralysis. The cost of listening to that voice, every time you believe it. You shrink. You overthink before speaking. You downplay your wins. You avoid risks. You seek validation from people who don't value you. It doesn't just steal your confidence, it steals your life. And here's the wild part. You think you're afraid of failure, but you're really afraid of what you'll say to yourself if you fail. You are not. The voice in your head. Let's be clear. That voice is not your intuition. It's not your truth. It's a recording, and recordings can be rewritten. The first step. Notice it. Start saying, there's the critic again. That's not me. That's a story I was taught. This breaks its spell because awareness is power when you see it. You don't have to be it rewriting the inner dialogue. Let's make this practical. Use this 3-step process to silence your inner critic and replace it with something better. 1. Catch it. Whenever you hear the voice, write it down. Example: you're lazy and you'll never change. This pulls it out of your head and into the light. Point 2. Challenge it. Ask, would I say this to a friend? Whose voice does this actually sound like? What part of me is trying to protect? Most of your self-hate isn't even yours. Inherited. 3. Change it. Now rewrite the voice in a way that's firm but kind. Example, I'm not lazy. I'm tired. Doing my best. I'm allowed to rest and still grow. It's not about fake positivity. It's about truthful compassion. You don't need a cheerleader. In your head, you need a coach who believes in you and tells the truth with love. Story that hits home. A woman spent years trying to lose weight. Every time she failed, she'd say, "You're disgusting. No wonder no one wants you." Her therapist asked, "What if your body isn't the problem? What if the voice is?" That changed everything. She stopped dieting and started healing. She didn't need more discipline. She needed more kindness, and the weight that lifted first wasn't physical. Start talking to yourself like someone you love. You've spent years believing your inner critic, but it's never brought peace, growth, or real change. So why keep listening? Try this instead. When you mess up, mistakes are how I learn. Fix this. When you feel behind, I'm moving at the pace that's right for me. When you're overwhelmed, I'm allowed to rest. I don't have to earn love. You can't hate yourself into success, but you can love yourself into transformation. New voice to build from. If you want a better life, build a better narrator. One who says, "I'm proud of you. It's okay to not have it all figured out. You are not your past. You are who you're becoming. You deserve peace, even when you're not perfect, because the voice you believe becomes the life you live in the next chapter." We'll destroy one of the biggest myths keeping you anxious and stuck. The lie of control and why surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It means taking your power back. Chapter 9. Control is the illusion that's keeping you stuck. You try to control how people see you. You try to control outcomes, timelines, emotions, and even other people's decisions. You obsess over the future. You overanalyze the past. You think if you can just get it right, you'll finally feel peace. But you won't, because here's the truth. Control is not safety. It's a cage. And the tighter you grip, the more life slips through your fingers. The lie we've been sold. You've been taught that if you work hard enough, plan smart enough, stay careful enough, few can control everything. But real life doesn't work that way. People leave, plans fall apart, markets crash, relationships. Emotions come uninvited. And no matter how tightly you hold on, you cannot predict or prevent most of it. Control is a myth built on fear. And the more you worship it, the more anxious, angry, and exhausted you become. What you're really searching for. Think about it. Why do you want control so badly? 'Cause you think it will bring peace, certainty, safety? But the irony, the pursuit of control creates the anxiety. If you're trying to escape, it makes your nervous system hyper-vigilant. It destroys your ability to trust. It disconnects you from the present. You're not living, you're managing. And you were made for more than management. You were made for freedom. Letting go is not giving up. Let's be clear. Letting go doesn't mean becoming passive. It means becoming wise. You don't stop caring. You stop clinging. You don't stop trying. You stop forcing. You don't surrender because you're weak. You surrender because you're finally strong. Enough to accept what you cannot change and bold enough to change what you can. This is the shift. From control gives to clarity. From force gives to flow. From anxiety gives to authority. A real-life wake-up call. A man loses his job unexpectedly. He panics. His whole identity was wrapped up in that title, that paycheck, that control over his life trajectory. For months, he fights it, resists reality, spirals in fear. Then one day he says, maybe this didn't happen to me. Maybe it happened for me. He starts freelancing, learns new skills, reconnects with his creativity. 2 years later, he runs his own company doing what he actually loves. None of that could happen until he let go of the illusion of control and leaned into trust. You can't control everything, but you can control this. Here's what you do control: your response, your focus, your effort, your energy, your meaning. That's it. Everything else, let it go. Gently, intentionally. Trying to control what's not yours to carry is what's been making you feel overwhelmed in the first place. Letting go in real time. Here's how to practice the art of surrender. Daily 2-1. Breathe before you. React 1. Something triggers your need to control. Pause. Take a breath. Feel the urge to grip. Then consciously release it. Say to yourself, I don't need to control this. I need to trust myself through it. Double quotes 2. Replace what if with what is. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if it all falls apart? Swap it with what is true right now. What can I handle right now? What's the next best step? The present is always more powerful than your projections. 3. Trust the timeline you can't see. You are allowed to have goals, but don't tie your peace to when and how they happen. Sometimes delays are redirections. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes not getting what you want is the gift. Let life surprise you. It often gives you better than you asked for if you don't cling too tightly to the plan. What? Surrender sounds like, it doesn't sound like defeat. It sounds like this. I release what I can't control. I trust myself to figure things out as they come. I don't need everything to be perfect to feel at peace right now. This mindset changes everything, because when you let go, you create space, and peace lives in that space. Repeat this every morning. Start each day with this reminder. Today, I will show up fully, act with intention, and let go of what's not mine to control. My peace is not negotiable. Make it a ritual, because letting go isn't a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. And once you get used to it, you'll wonder why you ever held on so tightly in the first place. In the next chapter, we confront the root of so much worry and fear: comparison. You'll see why it's silently destroying your confidence, and how to break free and finally run your own race. Chapter 10. The Comparison Trap. How to stop measuring yourself against others. You scroll through social media, you see their perfect house, their exotic vacation, their flawless body, their glowing relationships, and with every swipe, tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a whisper that says, you're not enough. This is the power of comparison. And it's destroying your peace, your self-worth, and your ability to live authentically. Why comparison is killing your happiness. Here's the truth. Comparison is a thief, but it doesn't just steal your joy. Steals your identity. You see someone else's success and think, why don't I have that? Why can't I look like that? Why am I not there yet? But the reality, you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. The house, maybe they're in debt. The vacation, maybe it's sponsored by a brand. The relationship, maybe it's hiding deep insecurities. When you compare, you're not measuring yourself against reality. You're measuring yourself against a curated fantasy. And that's an impossible standard, The root of comparison. Fear of not being enough at its core. Comparison is driven by one thing: fear of inadequacy. We compare because we fear we're falling short. We fear that we're not living up to our potential, that we're not measuring up to others, that we'll be left behind. But here's the truth. You are enough. You always have been. Your worth isn't defined by what anyone else is doing. Your journey isn't the same as theirs. When you compare yourself to others, you step out of your own lane. You stop focusing on your own growth and get distracted by someone else's path. And here's the biggest kicker. When you look at someone else's success and feel bad about your own, you're missing the most powerful part of the equation. You're not competing with anyone else but yourself. Why we compare, and how to break free. The comparison trap is a psychological game we all play. Here's why. We're social creatures from childhood. We're taught to compete, to fit in, to seek validation. We want validation. Comparison is a shortcut to feeling good enough. If someone else is doing it, we think it must be the way. We want certainty. When we see someone succeeding, it gives us a sense of how we should be living. But here's the problem. The moment we rely on others for validation, we lose the only thing that matters: our internal compass. You cannot rely on others to tell you if you're enough. You need to learn to validate yourself. The secret to ending comparison. Celebrate your own journey. Comparison isn't just about competition, it's about distrust. You don't trust your own path. You don't trust your own timing. But here's what happens when you stop comparing. You stop questioning if you're doing it right. You stop obsessing over what everyone else is achieving. You stop measuring your success based on someone else's scale. Instead, you start celebrating your unique progress. You recognize that your journey is different than. That's what makes it's beautiful. Shift your focus from external validation to internal fulfillment. The more you seek validation from others, the more trapped you'll be in the comparison cycle, the more you focus on your own growth and fulfillment, the less you'll care what anyone else is doing. Here's how to shift the focus. 1. Define your own success. Take a moment to ask yourself, what does success mean to you? What do you want in your life? What values do you want to prioritize? Don't let someone else's version of success drown out your own dreams. 2. Unfollow the comparison triggers. Social media is often the biggest comparison trap. If you follow people who make you feel insecure, unfollow them. You're not obligated to stay connected to anyone who makes you feel less than. You owe it to yourself to curate a space where you're empowered, not diminished. 3. Focus on your progress, not perfection. Stop worrying about being perfect. Stop worrying about being as far along as others. Focus on your journey. Celebrate every little step forward, no matter how small. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and it's not linear. The comparison detox, a 7-day challenge for the next 7 days. Commit to a comparison detox. Here's how. Track your triggers. Keep a journal of when and why you compare yourself to others. Unfollow and mute. If social media is your comparison culprit, unfollow people who trigger negative thoughts and mute accounts that make you feel bad about yourself. Practice gratitude each day. Write down 3 things you're grateful for in your life. Focusing on your own achievements, no matter how small. Reframe failure. When you fail, don't compare yourself to others. Ask yourself, what lesson can I learn here? How can I grow from this? Celebrate one achievement every day. Celebrate one thing you've accomplished, big or small. Reconnect with your purpose. Spend time journaling about your personal mission. What are you truly passionate about? What's important to you? Limit social media. Take breaks from social media entirely. If you don't need to know everyone's business, give yourself permission to focus on your own life. The power of self-validation. When you stop comparing, you free yourself from constant anxiety and self-doubt. You start validating yourself. You start celebrating your own progress. You start honoring your own journey. And that's where real peace begins. The freedom you're looking for. Comparison is a powerful tool for growth. You use it as inspiration, not as a weapon. When you compare, do it with empathy, not judgment. Use other people's success as a reminder that anything is possible. But don't use it as a measure of your own worth in the next chapter. We dive into the truth behind letting go of perfectionism and why embracing imperfection is the key to finally freeing yourself from the chains of worry and anxiety. Chapter 11. Letting go of perfectionism. Why embracing imperfection sets you free. You have a vision in your head, an idea of what your life, your work, your relationships, your body should look like. It's perfect. It's flawless. It's everything you've ever wanted. But no matter how hard you try, you're always just a little short of the vision. And so, you wait. You wait for the right moment. You wait for everything to align perfectly. You wait for yourself to be perfect. But guess what? Perfection doesn't exist. And by holding out for it, you're holding out on yourself. The perfectionism trap. Perfectionism convinces you that you are not enough as you are. It tells you that if you just tweak this one thing, whether it's your body, your career, or your self-esteem, then, and only then, will you be worthy? But here's the problem. Perfectionism keeps you in a state of constant striving and never arriving. It's a hamster wheel of self-criticism, self-doubt, and never feeling satisfied with your efforts. You can't live in the present. When you're obsessed with the future, and you can't enjoy your success when you're focused on how far you still have to go. The dark side of perfectionism, the biggest lie perfectionism tells you is this: you have to be perfect in order to succeed, to be loved, to be accepted. But perfectionism doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't help you grow, in fact. Perfectionism is a form of self-sabotage. It keeps you stuck in fear of failure. It makes you second-guess every decision. It paralyzes you from taking action. It fuels self-doubt and negative self-talk. Perfectionism isn't a trait, it's a defense mechanism. It's a way of avoiding failure, rejection, and the pain of being imperfect. But here's the truth. Imperfection is not weakness. It's where real growth happens. The perfectionism lie. If I'm not perfect, I'm not good enough. Perfectionism is rooted in the belief that your worth is conditional. You tell yourself, if I can just get this right, then I'll be worthy. I can just perform perfectly, then I'll be enough. But here's the truth. You are already enough. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real. The path to freedom isn't through perfect execution. It's through accepting imperfection and doing the best you can with what you have. Why perfectionism is an enemy of progress. Let's talk about why perfectionism actually stalls your progress. Fear of failure holds you back if you're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect results. You'll never act. And in waiting, you miss opportunities for growth, learning, and improvement. You never finish what you start. Perfectionism is the reason so many projects never get completed. You constantly revise, tweak, and edit, never letting go of the idea that something can always be better. It saps your joy, even when you achieve something. You don't fully enjoy it because you're too focused on how it could have been better. You're always looking ahead instead of savoring the present. You're not truly living. When you strive for perfection, you focus only on the destination. But life isn't a destination. It's a journey, and if you're constantly running towards perfection, you miss the moments that truly matter. The freedom of imperfection. The key to letting go of perfectionism is embracing imperfection. This doesn't mean settling for mediocrity, means giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to fail, to be human. Here's how you can start letting go of perfectionism. 1. Reframe failure as feedback. Only true failure is not trying at all. When you let go of perfection, you realize that failure isn't a reflection of your worth, it's an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve. Embrace failure as part of your journey, not as something to avoid at all costs. 2. Embrace the not enough mindset. Done is better than perfect. The more you wait for everything to be just right, the more you delay your success. Set a standard of good enough and finish what you start. You can always improve later, but at least you'll have something to build on. 3. Set realistic standards. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Set achievable, realistic goals that stretch you without overwhelming you. When you let go of the idea that you need to be flawless, you free yourself to grow in ways that you never could if you were always striving for perfection. 4. Give yourself grace. Kind to yourself. You're allowed to make mistakes, to be less than perfect, to not have all the answers. Treat yourself with the same compassion and understanding you'd offer to a friend. Remember, you're doing the best you can, and that's more than enough. 5. Celebrate imperfection. Start celebrating your flaws and imperfections. They're what make you unique. They're what make you human. The more you embrace your imperfections, the more you'll feel the freedom to be yourself without constantly trying to measure up to an impossible standard. The power of letting go of perfectionism is about creating space for freedom. It's about stepping away from the crippling pressure of needing to be flawless and instead choosing to live authentically. When you stop striving for perfection, you give yourself the gift of peace. You give yourself permission to grow, to make mistakes, to evolve. And in doing so, you finally experience what it means to be truly alive. Your imperfect life is your perfect life. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You need to be honest. You need to be brave. And once you let go of the myth of perfection, you'll see the truth. You are enough exactly as you are. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the magic of trusting yourself and the power of self-compassion. This is where the shift from external validation to internal peace becomes unstoppable. Chapter 12. The power of self-compassion. How being kind to yourself unlocks your true potential. How many times have you been harder on yourself than you'd ever be on someone else? How many times have you beaten yourself up over mistakes, flaws, or failures that, if you looked at them through someone else's eyes, would seem completely insignificant? It's a common pattern. We've all been there. But here's the shocking truth. You're doing your best, and that is enough. If you're reading this, chances are you've been your own worst critic. You've probably told yourself you're not doing enough. You've likely punished yourself for being imperfect or not good enough. But what if the key to breaking free from the constant cycle of self-judgment is being kinder to yourself? What if the secret to real transformation, inner peace, and true success lies in self-compassion? The myth of tough love you've heard it a million times. Haven't you pushed through it? Don't be soft. Get over it. Stop being weak. For some, the idea of being kind to themselves feels like weakness. We've been conditioned to believe that the only way to succeed is to push harder, to ignore our emotions, and to constantly be at war with ourselves. But here's the reality. Self-compassion is not weakness. It's strength. It's emotional courage. It's the foundation of true growth. The more you push yourself relentlessly, the more you drain your energy, your confidence, and your well-being. When you're kind to yourself, you build a sense of inner security that allows you to take on challenges without the fear of failure. What self-compassion really means. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with the same kindness, understanding, and patience that you would extend to a close friend who is struggling. It's acknowledging that you, like every other human being, are imperfect. It's giving yourself permission to make mistakes, to feel pain, to have flaws, and still love yourself through it all. Self-compassion is made up of three key elements: self-kindness, being gentle with yourself during times of failure or difficulty. Instead of criticizing, you offer yourself words of comfort and encouragement. Common humanity. Understanding that suffering and imperfection are part of the shared human experience. You're not alone in your struggles, and you don't have to bear them alone. Mindfulness. Being aware of your emotions and experiences without judgment. You don't deny or suppress pain, but you also don't allow it to define you. When you practice self-compassion, you break free from the cycle of self-criticism and judgment. You begin to treat yourself with the same love and care that you offer to others. And you'll be amazed at how that transforms every area of your life. Why we struggle with self-compassion. So why is it so hard to be kind to ourselves? For many, self-compassion feels selfish. We've been taught that it's better to be self-sacrificing, to put others first, and to always put our own needs last. We fear that if we stop criticizing ourselves, we'll become lazy, complacent, or self-indulgent. But here's the truth. Self-compassion doesn't mean neglecting your goals or settling for mediocrity. It means giving yourself the emotional fuel to keep going without the burden of guilt, shame, or fear of failure. It's about showing yourself the same compassion you would show someone you care about deeply. The benefits of self-compassion. When you practice self-compassion, something incredible happens. You unlock your true potential. Here's why. You'll make better decisions. When you're hard on yourself, you make decisions out of fear and shame. You avoid risks, play it safe, and stay in your comfort zone. But when you're compassionate with yourself, you make decisions based on what's best for you, not what you're afraid of. You'll be more resilient. Self-compassion gives you the emotional strength to bounce back from setbacks. Instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you'll view failure as a learning opportunity and come back stronger. You'll achieve more. Ironically, being kind to yourself leads to greater productivity and success. When you're not constantly battling inner criticism, you can channel your energy into achieving your goals with confidence and focus. You'll experience greater happiness. Self-compassion cultivates a deep sense of inner peace and contentment. It helps you let go of the unrealistic expectations you place on yourself and embrace your imperfections with love. This leads to greater overall happiness and fulfillment. You'll build stronger relationships. When you treat yourself with kindness, you begin to model that behavior for others. You'll form deeper, more authentic connections and create a life that's filled with supportive, loving relationships. How? To cultivate self-compassion. Cultivating self-compassion isn't something that happens overnight, a daily practice. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Here's how to start. 1. Talk to yourself like a friend. Next time you're struggling, imagine how you would talk to your best friend in the same situation. Would you call them weak or unworthy? Of course not. You'd offer words of comfort, understanding, and encouragement. Do the same for yourself. 2. Acknowledge your feelings without judgment. When you're feeling upset, frustrated, or disappointed, acknowledge those feelings without judgment. Instead of telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this way, say, it's okay to feel this way. I'm human, and I'm allowed to have these emotions. 3. Practice self-care regularly. Self-compassion isn't just about your thoughts. It's also about your actions. Take care of yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Make time for relaxation, hobbies, exercise, and healthy eating. Show yourself that you're worthy of care and attention. 4. Let go of perfectionism. As we've already discussed, perfectionism is the enemy of self-compassion. Instead of striving for flawlessness, focus on doing your best and accepting your mistakes as part of the process. 5. Forgive yourself. Stop holding on to past mistakes. The more you beat yourself up for things that have already happened, the less energy you have for creating a better future. Forgive yourself for your imperfections and move forward with compassion and understanding. The freedom of self-compassion. When you finally choose to treat yourself with kindness, something magical happens. You stop fighting against yourself. You stop creating unnecessary barriers. You stop limiting your potential. Instead, you become your own biggest supporter. You give yourself permission to try, to fail, and to grow. And that is when you truly start living in the next chapter, embracing the power of acceptance. In our next chapter, we'll explore the radical power of acceptance, how embracing what is rather than fighting against it can help you release worry and finally find inner peace. Chapter 13. The Power of Acceptance. Why letting go of resistance leads to freedom. We all have something we wish were different, a situation we want to change, a habit we want to break, a goal we're striving for but can't quite seem to reach. But here's the powerful truth. The more you resist something, the more you give it power over your life. Resistance is a silent thief, steals your peace, your energy, and your joy. The longer you fight against what is, the more you tie yourself to that struggle, making it impossible to move forward. In this chapter, we'll explore why acceptance is not only liberating, but also a potent tool for releasing the constant cycle of worry. We'll discover why embracing reality just as it is will help you feel free, unburdened, and empowered. The tyranny of resistance. Every time you wish that life were different, you create a mental struggle. Every time you criticize yourself for not being where you want to be, you create a mental barrier. Every time you resist what is happening right now, you are, in essence, rejecting your own experience. The problem is, when you resist something, you amplify its power in your life. Let's say you're facing a challenging situation. Instead of accepting it, you reject it. You curse the circumstances. You wish things were different. But the more you fight against the reality of the situation, the more it consumes your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy. It's like trying to hold your breath underwater. The longer you resist, the harder it becomes to breathe. Acceptance is the key to letting go of the struggle. It doesn't mean resignation or giving up. It means choosing peace over conflict, serenity over chaos. When you stop resisting, you open the door to transformation. What acceptance really means. Acceptance is not about approving of everything that happens. It's not about saying this is okay when it's clearly not. Instead, acceptance is the act of saying, this is what is right now, and I am choosing to let go of my resistance to it. Acceptance is acknowledging reality without judgment. Choosing to move forward from that point. It's not about denying your desires or goals, but about recognizing that where you are right now is enough. It's releasing the need to control every outcome and trusting that life will unfold in its own time. Why acceptance is the ultimate freedom. Acceptance is not passive. It's a powerful tool that opens up your mind, heart, and soul to new possibilities. When you accept, you stop fighting against reality and instead begin to flow with it. And it's only in this state of flow that true peace and growth occur. Here's why acceptance leads to freedom. It stops the inner conflict. Constant resistance creates internal conflict. You battle with yourself, with your circumstances, and with life itself. Every should and could have drains your energy. But when you accept things as they are, you end the inner struggle. You stop fighting yourself, and instead you open yourself to the present moment. You embrace what is, and in doing so, you reclaim your power. It relieves the pressure. When you're not constantly trying to change everything, you relieve yourself of unnecessary pressure. Acceptance means you no longer feel compelled to constantly be in a state of doing. You've stopped tying your worth to your achievements or circumstances. Your worth comes from simply being, not from constantly doing. Striving and achieving, it builds emotional resilience. Acceptance doesn't mean that life will always be easy, but it does mean you become emotionally resilient. When you accept what is, you stop resisting the difficulties of life. Instead of being knocked down by challenges, you begin to see them as opportunities to grow. Acceptance makes you more adaptable and less vulnerable to the emotional roller coaster of constantly fighting against life. It lets go of the need for control. We all like to think we can control our lives. But life has its own rhythm and timing, and we cannot control everything. Acceptance means relinquishing the illusion of control. Instead of trying to dictate every outcome, you surrender to life's flow. You let go of the obsession with what should be, and you embrace what is. The common myths about acceptance. A lot of people mistakenly believe that acceptance means giving up on your goals. This isn't true. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for better. It means you embrace where you are while you work toward what you want. Lack of ambition. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop beating yourself up for not being further along or for not having achieved everything yet. Being passive. Acceptance doesn't mean you don't take action. It means you take action from a place of peace, not from a place of resistance or frustration. How to practice acceptance in your life. So how do you begin practicing acceptance in your daily life? It's not something that comes naturally to everyone. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Here are some steps you can take to begin embracing acceptance. 1. Acknowledge what is. Start by fully acknowledging your current reality without judgment. Look at your situation, your emotions, and your thoughts. Say to yourself, this is what is happening right now. You don't have to like it, but you have to see it for what it is. 2. Release the need for perfection. Acceptance means releasing the need for perfection in yourself and your circumstances. Understand that imperfections are part of life. No situation, no person, no outcome is ever perfect, and that's okay. Allow life to be messy, chaotic, and uncertain, and learn to flow with it. 3. Let go of control. Recognize where you're trying to control things beyond your ability to influence. Whether it's worrying about the future or trying to change others, release the need to control. Trust that life will unfold as it is meant to, and focus on the things you can control: your responses, your mindset, and your actions. 4. Cultivate patience. Acceptance is an act of patience. When you accept things as they are, you let go of the urgency to force change. Trust that everything has its time, and that the journey is just as important as the destination. Allow life to unfold at its own pace. 5. Focus on what you can change while you embrace acceptance. Don't forget that there are things you can still change. But the key is to act from a place of calm and clarity, not desperation. Focus on making small, intentional changes rather than trying to fix everything all at once. The peace that comes with acceptance. Once you begin to practice acceptance, you'll feel a weight lift off your shoulders. The constant internal conflict will fade, and you'll begin to experience a deep sense of peace. Acceptance isn't about giving up. It's about making peace with what is, so that you can focus your energy on what you can control. It's about finding freedom from the endless cycle of resistance, so you can finally live fully in the present moment. In the next chapter, surrendering to life's flow. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the transformative power of surrender, how letting go of the need to control everything can lead to the most fulfilling and joyful experiences of your life. Chapter 14. Surrendering to life's flow. The art of letting go of control. Do you find yourself constantly trying to control every aspect of your life? Do you feel the pressure to manage everything: your career, relationships, health, and even your emotions perfectly? Here's a shocking truth. You can't control everything. In fact, the more you try to control life, the more you create friction, resistance, and stress. The key to peace, happiness, and success is not in trying to control every outcome, but in surrendering to life's flow, accepting that some things are beyond your control and that this is exactly how it's supposed to be. In this chapter, we will explore the profound art of surrender, how letting go of the need to control can actually help you achieve more, feel more at peace, and live with greater ease. The tyranny of control. We live in a world that constantly reinforces the idea that we need to control everything, from planning every detail of our day to meticulously managing our careers, relationships, and personal growth. We are taught that control equals success, happiness, and security. But in reality, the obsession with control creates anxiety, exhaustion, and frustration. The more you try to micromanage every aspect of your life, the more you disconnect from the present moment. You stop trusting the process of life and become overly attached 2. Specific outcomes. Let's say you're trying to force a certain outcome in your career, relationship, or personal life. You might push and push, but the harder you try to control things, the more resistance you encounter. You can feel your energy draining, and despite your best efforts, things just don't seem to flow the way you want them to. This is the tyranny of control. The more you fight against the natural course of events, the more you feel like you're battling the world around you. What surrender really means? Surrender does not mean giving up. It's not about being passive, weak, or resigning yourself to fate. It's about choosing peace over struggle. It's about releasing the need to force outcomes and embracing the natural flow of life. Even when things don't go according to plan, surrender means trusting that life has a way of working itself out, often in ways that are far better than we could ever imagine. When you surrender, you stop trying to control every aspect of your life and instead you let go. You trust that, even in times of uncertainty, life will unfold as it should. The power of letting go. Letting go is not about abandoning your goals, desires, or ambitions. It's about releasing your attachment to how those goals should manifest. When you let go, you open yourself to a greater flow of creativity, opportunities, and unexpected blessings. Here's why letting go and surrendering to life's flow is so powerful. It reduces stress and anxiety. When you're constantly trying to control everything, you are in a perpetual state of stress. You worry about the what-ifs and the potential outcomes. But when you surrender, you free yourself from the need for perfection and control. You start to trust the process, which immediately reduces anxiety and promotes calm. It fosters resilience. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much you plan, things will inevitably take a turn. Surrendering to life's flow builds resilience because you stop fighting the unexpected. Instead, you embrace it. You see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for growth. It opens you to new possibilities. The tighter you hold on to specific outcomes, the more you close yourself off to other opportunities. Surrendering allows you to be open to unexpected blessings and possibilities. When you let go of the need for control, you allow space for life to surprise you. It cultivates inner peace. The more you surrender, the more at peace you become. Surrendering is an act of trust and acceptance. When you trust that everything is unfolding as it should, you stop fighting with life and instead begin to live in harmony with it. Why we struggle with surrender. Surrender is not easy. It goes against the grain of everything we've been taught. We've been conditioned to believe that if we don't control our circumstances, they'll spiral out of control. We think that surrendering means giving up our power or losing control over our lives. But here's the truth. Surrendering is not about losing control. It's about gaining freedom. It's about trusting that you are not alone in this journey that life, the universe, or whatever higher power you believe in, is supporting you in ways that you cannot always see. How to surrender. Practical steps. So, how can you begin to practice surrender in your life? It's a gradual process, but the more you embrace it, the easier it becomes. Here are some steps to start surrendering to life's flow. 1. Let go of the need for perfection. The first step in surrendering is letting go of the need for everything to be perfect. Understand that things don't always go according to plan. That's okay. Life is messy, unpredictable, and beautiful in its imperfection. The more you let go of the idea of perfection, the more at peace you will be. Point 2. Practice mindfulness and acceptance. Mindfulness allows you to stay grounded in the present moment. It helps you release the mental chatter and anxiety about what could happen in the future. When you practice mindfulness, you stop trying to control everything, and instead, you simply experience life as it is. Acceptance is key to surrender. Accept what is happening in the present moment without judgment. Trust that life is unfolding as it should, even if it doesn't look the way you imagined. 3. Trust the process. Trust that life has a way of working out even if it's not according to your timeline. The more you let go of rigid expectations, the more you'll be able to flow with life's natural rhythms. Trust that, even when things are uncertain, they are leading you exactly where you need to go. 4. Let go of attachment to outcomes. Instead of focusing on the end result, focus on the journey. Let go of your attachment to specific outcomes and trust that whatever happens will be for your highest good. Detach yourself from the need to control every aspect of your life and instead focus on what you can control: your actions, mindset, and reactions. 5. Cultivate patience and resilience. Surrender requires patience. Life doesn't always unfold in the way we want it to, and that's why we need to develop resilience. Stay patient as things unfold, and trust that what you are going through is part of a larger process that you may not yet fully understand. The freedom that comes with surrender. When you choose to surrender, you open yourself up to life's full potential. You no longer need to control every outcome. And in doing so, you release the weight of worry and fear. Surrendering doesn't mean you give up on your dreams or stop working toward your goals. It means you trust the process, flow with life, and allow things to unfold naturally in the next chapter. Living with gratitude in the next chapter. We'll explore the transformative power of gratitude, how adopting a gratitude mindset can shift your perspective and elevate every area of your life. Chapter 15. The transformative power of gratitude. Rewiring your mind for abundance. Gratitude is more than just a nice gesture or a polite expression. It's one of the most powerful tools you can use to shift your mindset, transform your life, and break free from the cycle of worry and fear. But here's the catch, okay? Most people think of gratitude as something to practice only when things are going well. Okay, they believe that gratitude is a reaction to positive circumstances, but that's not the full story. In reality, gratitude is a mindset, a choice, and a way of being that transforms not just how you feel in the moment, but how you experience life as a whole. In this chapter, we will explore how gratitude can reshape your thoughts, elevate your emotional state, and become a key practice in your journey toward letting go of worry and embracing peace. The science of gratitude. Why it works. You may have heard that gratitude is good for your mental health, but what does science say about it? Studies consistently show that people who practice gratitude have lower levels of anxiety, depression, and stress. They are also more optimistic, resilient, and satisfied with their lives. Gratitude has been proven to boost happiness. When you consciously focus on what you are grateful for, your brain releases feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which contribute to a more positive outlook on life, improve relationships. Expressing gratitude toward others strengthens connections, fostering trust, respect, and emotional closeness. Reduce stress. Shifting your focus from what's wrong to what's right helps to deactivate the stress response, allowing your body and mind to relax enhance overall well-being. Grateful individuals report feeling healthier, experiencing less pain, and sleeping better. Gratitude literally rewires your brain. When you focus on the things you are thankful for, you train your brain to look for more positive aspects in your life. Instead of dwelling on what's missing, gratitude shifts your attention to what's already present, what you can appreciate. In the here and now, gratitude, a practice, not a feeling. Gratitude is often misunderstood as something that happens only when you feel good or when things go your way. In truth, gratitude is a practice, not just a feeling. You don't have to wait for your life to be perfect or for everything to fall into place before you can be grateful. You can choose gratitude at any moment, regardless of your circumstances. This is where most people go wrong. They wait for external circumstances to change before they feel grateful. But that's not how it works. True gratitude doesn't depend on the conditions of your life. It's a choice you make every single day. The key is to shift your mindset from, "I'll be grateful when," to, "I choose to be grateful right now, no matter what." The gratitude shift from lack to abundance. Gratitude is one of the most effective ways to shift from a lack mindset to an abundance mindset. A lack mindset is rooted in fear, worry, and scarcity. It focuses on what's missing, what you don't have, and the things you fear losing. When you live in this mindset, you are constantly in survival mode, focused on what's going wrong and worrying about what you might not be able to control. On the other hand, an abundance mindset is focused on possibilities, potential, and the infinite opportunities that exist around you. It's about recognizing that there is more than enough love, resources, opportunities, and blessings. Gratitude is the bridge between these two mindsets. When you start practicing gratitude, you begin to see the abundance in your life. You shift your focus from lack and fear to abundance and possibility. Instead of worrying about what you don't have, you start appreciating what's already in your life. And as you do this, you will find that the more you focus on abundance, the more abundance you attract. How to practice gratitude daily. Now that we know the transformative power of gratitude, how can you incorporate it into your daily routine? Here are some simple, powerful practices to make gratitude a consistent part of your life. Point 1. Keep a gratitude journal. One of the most effective ways to practice gratitude is to write it down. Each day, take a few minutes to list 3 things you are grateful for. These don't have to be big or grand things, just simple moments or experiences that bring you joy or appreciation. Over time, this practice will train your brain to notice more of the good things in your life. You'll start to see the positive in situations you might have once overlooked or taken for granted. 2. Express gratitude to others. Another powerful way to cultivate gratitude is by expressing it to others. Take time each day to thank someone for something they've done. Whether it's a friend, family member, colleague, or even a stranger. By acknowledging and appreciating others, you not only make their day better, but also reinforce your own sense of gratitude. This practice deepens your connections with others, which can lead to stronger relationships and a more fulfilling life. Point 3. Start and end your day with gratitude. Begin your morning by listing 3 things you're grateful for before you even get out of bed. This sets a positive tone for the day and primes your mind for success. Similarly, before you fall asleep, reflect on what went well that day. Think about moments of joy, growth, or connection, and give thanks for them. This practice helps you end the day on a positive note, promoting better sleep and a sense of contentment. For gratitude during challenging times. Gratitude isn't just for the good times. In fact, it can be even more powerful during challenging moments. When you're facing difficulties or uncertainty, take a moment to reflect on what you can still be grateful for. It might be your health, your family, or the lessons you're learning from the experience. This doesn't mean ignoring the hard stuff, but rather choosing to balance it out with a perspective of appreciation. It helps to shift the focus from problems to solutions and from pain to growth. Gratitude, a habit that transforms your life. The more you practice gratitude, the more natural it becomes. Gratitude starts to shape your daily thoughts, actions, and mindset. Over time, you will find that you worry less, appreciate more, and live with a greater sense of peace and contentment. Gratitude is the antidote to worry. When you focus on the positive, you create space for more positivity to enter your life. It's an ongoing cycle of growth, joy, and abundance. Conclusion: the transformative power of letting go. Journey of letting go, either it's letting go of worry, fear, perfectionism, or limiting beliefs is not an easy one, but it is the most rewarding. Throughout this book, we've explored how letting go unlocks your true potential. It frees you from the chains of fear and worry, enabling you to step into your authentic power. It allows you to embrace your imperfections, celebrate your growth, and live a life that aligns with your deepest desires. Now, it's your turn. Let go of the need to control everything. Let go of the belief that your worth depends on others' opinions. Let go of the fear that keeps you small. Let go of the doubt that stops you from taking action. As you practice letting go, remember that this is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Each time you release something that no longer serves you, you make space for something greater to enter your life. Every time you let go of fear, worry, or self-limiting beliefs, you open the door to deeper freedom, greater joy, and more profound connection. The world is waiting for you to show up as your true, unapologetic self. When you let go of everything that holds you back, you'll discover a life that's richer, more fulfilling, and more aligned with your soul's deepest purpose. Now is the time. Let go and watch your life transform.